Hi everyone, Linda Heldman here for Canadian Beats. I have with me on the phone Kurt Dahl, who is the drummer for one of the most popular rock bands in Canada right now, One Bad Son. Welcome, Kurt.
Hey, Linda, thanks for having me. It's an honor.
Great. Great to have you here. Um, Now you live in Saskatoon or are you living in Vancouver now? I was a little.
No, I live in Saskatoon. So we lived in Vancouver as a band for 4 years,
Oh, okay.
and then yeah, we wanted to go there to sort of take our career to the next level. And once we did that, we spent a lot of time in a tour bus now, so we're always on the road. So yeah, I mean, home is Saskatoon. That's where our family is. I've got my 2-year-old son, Levon, and my wife, and so yeah, I love the city.
Great, great. I was just there in September for the CCMAs.
Nice. I was at the CCMAs. That's awesome.
You were? Okay. I
Yeah,
didn't know you
yeah.
then. We'll
I,
definitely we'll have to meet up somewhere.
yeah, totally. Well, CCMAs is awesome. Like I've got, as we were talking about before we hit record, like I've got a bunch of my legal clients were nominated and won one CCMA. So I was there as the lawyer more than the drummer.
Oh, perfect, perfect. Who are some of your clients?
Well, some of the big ones are like Tennille Arts and Coulter Wall. That's sort of in Twin Kennedy, like in the country world. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, in terms of rock, I mean, it's like tons of big artists. So yeah, yeah, I wear two hats every day.
Great. Yeah, it's weird. You're a drummer for this big rock and roll band, and you are also an entertainment lawyer. That's kind of
Yeah,
mind blowing.
you know, I depend like if I either have a suit jacket on or not. That's just like that's my wardrobe change, and I switch into to lawyer drummer.
Do you ever lay down the law with the rest of the band every once in a while?
Well, not really. I mean, usually what it is like, especially in the early days when promoters didn't know that I was a lawyer. You know, if a promoter or a venue tried to sort of screw us over, I would have to pull out the lawyer card. And
Ooh,
um,
oh. You're a good
but
person to know.
I guess yeah,
You mentioned Neil Arts. She is such a fantastic young lady. Absolutely love her. She's doing so
yeah,
phenomenally well, and she's got a good person on her side with you, definitely.
yeah. She's so talented. I feel lucky. Like I've been doing the law side of things for like 8 years now, and so I'm fortunate enough that I can like pick my clients. You know, I don't have to take on everyone, and
Mm-hmm.
thankfully, so many of my clients are like friends. You know, and Tennille is in that category. So, you know, I always say like my favorite kind of clients are the ones that I would like to go for beers with. You know, and that's almost all of them. So that's great.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right. Well, I guess we should talk about the new album because
Yeah,
that's kind of what it's all about. We could just talk for hours just about you. It's just yeah.
I'm not that vain. Okay.
No, but I have a soft spot for drummers, and I totally admit that. And it's just you're very interesting because you have this creative side, obviously, with your music, and then as the lawyer, you're very business minded. So you really are of two mindsets.
Yeah, it's interesting. That's an interesting topic. Like, I find that over the years, like depending on what I'm working on, like if I'm in the studio and recording a new album, I'm not thinking at all with the lawyer brain. You know what I mean? It's all about creativity and thinking with my heart and my soul. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? And then when I'm negotiating a big deal for a client, it's like there's not my creative side is sort of put on mute for a bit because I got to get down to business. So
Mm-hmm.
it's you have to learn to sort of you know have different minds at certain times.
I feel your struggle because I have a very business side and I also have a very creative side. And sometimes when I'm in business mode and my creative wants to come out and I have to suppress it, it doesn't, it's not happy.
Totally, yeah, totally. It's not easy to sort of. I mean, sometimes you feel a bit bipolar, which I do
Yes.
sometimes.
That's a good analogy of it. I like that. So next Friday is October the 13th, a Friday the 13th. And it seems to be a very busy day for new music releases. And One Bad Son is releasing your fifth studio album, which is called
Right.
Made in the Name of Rock and Roll. Can you tell me a bit about that?
Yeah, so I mean, in terms of the title or the album?
The whole album.
Yeah, I feel like this was the album that we've always wanted to make, and I think a lot of artists say that, but I mean, this album took 2 years to write and a lifetime to live. We put everything we had into this album, and I feel like our producer pushed us more than we've ever been pushed. Like I feel like this was one of the most challenging things I've ever done in my life, but in a good way. We wanted to make, we've been doing this 13 years as a band, and when you get sort of like to the point that we're at in your career, I think there's really an urge to make that album that really is your statement. You know what I mean? And also break an album that breaks you outside to the next level, right? Like we want to make an album that would put us in the league of our idols, whether it be Led Zeppelin or Queen or Soundgarden, and that's not an easy task. Like I feel like we've come close on certain songs in the past where we really connected and really were firing on all cylinders. But the goal of this album was to make an album that really took us to that next level and really defined us as writers. And I think we did that.
That's good. That's good. Raging Bull is the current single from this new album, and it's just been breaking records all over the place, which is fantastic. What was the inspiration on picking that as the first single?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think we knew at an early stage that it was like there was something there, and like what I love about being a creative person is like when you're really on, when you're connecting and sort of connecting with that sort of energy in the universe, which is the best way I can describe. Like rock and roll when done right to me is like magic, and it's not always magic, right? Like when you're writing songs, sometimes you write and write and write. There's a couple songs we've been writing for like 10 years and they aren't there yet,
Mm-hmm.
But with Raging Bull, there was something just in the air when we wrote that, and I think we all knew right away there's something special. And then it's our job to capture that, like the songs are never ours as musicians. We just sort of capture them for a moment and then put them on record and then release them, and so Rage that, like there was some sort of energy, intensity in the air, and it was around, there's been a lot of crazy shit that has happened in the world in the last year, and I think that was sort of
certainly has.
Yeah, and I think there's just like this intensity and this energy when we wrote that song, and so yeah, we just knew once it was done recording, I think it was pretty unanimous. Like we knew that we loved the song. It was sort of a different direction for us in a way, and we wanted to release it. And yeah, it's like 13 years in, it's our first number one, and I mean the good thing about taking that long to have a number one is it keeps you really humble,
Mm-hmm.
and when it happens, you really appreciate it. Like so, I remember like we got the news, we got a phone. Actually, I woke up that morning and got on my phone. I saw number one and exclamation points from our radio guy, and I was just like, we were a long ways from feeling jaded, and we're still a long ways from feeling jaded. It was like I felt like a little schoolgirl when I got that text.
That's great news to wake up to. Excuse me. Yeah,
totally.
Yeah. Is there going to be a follow-up single?
Yeah, it's actually, we just released it. So it's called Scream for Me.
Okay.
And we just found out this week it's the most added song at rock radio in Canada.
Oh, perfect.
So we're sort of in early celebration mode here.
Mm-hmm. Well, Raging Bull did the same thing. It was the number one most added single for 4 weeks when it was released.
Yeah.
So that's you are definitely becoming a band that's like, oh yeah, okay, most added, people want to hear this, and they are, which is great. Listening through the album, the one song that really stood out to me was Hurricane. I love that track.
Nice. That's one of my favorites.
Good, good. What makes it your favorite? There's just something, the whole feel about it that it just seemed to draw me in more than the others.
That's awesome to hear. It's also awesome to know we have similar tastes.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, for me, it sort of captures. It's got this sort of ominous feel, like there is sort of a storm coming.
Mm-hmm.
I always love songs like that. You know, it's got this chugging sort of energy, like it reminds me a bit of "Rockin' in the Free World"
Mm-hmm.
by my man Neil. And then it's just got this. It does sort of have this sort of, I don't know. I love it when songs sort of capture the energy of the times, and I feel like, I don't know, it just feels like in the last year, so much crazy stuff has happened. Even like in the last week, Tom Petty died, and he's a huge idol of mine. And I don't know, like in the songs, nothing about that lyrically, but it just has this ominous feel, and
Mm-hmm.
and I think that it can be taken and interpreted in a million different ways, And for me, I love when songs are able to sort of capture whatever the feeling is in the air, of the times. And I think that's the greatest gift. If you, as a writer, you can capture something that really can touch on that. That's when people relate to it, right? So, but I'm curious to hear what you like about it.
As I said, it was just something about it. A little bit of the lyrics, definitely the energy of the song. It was a little more tame than the first two tracks. And it's been a long time since I was a hardcore rocker girl. Okay, I do have to admit that. I am as I get older, I've moved over to the softer side of things on the country vein. But I mean, in my misspent youth, and I do say misspent youth, I grew up in Toronto, and I used to hang out with the band Gatto. I don't know if you're familiar with them, Greg Godovitz and
Yeah.
Doug Inglis and Gino Scarpelli. They were my boys, okay? I love them, and I'm surprised I have any eardrums left. So through them, I ended up meeting the boys in Triumph and whole Lee Aaron back in the day when she was the rocker queen of Canada. Absolutely amazing lady. So I did have a rock side in my younger years. So
Nice.
It was nice to throw back to that a little bit.
And we woke up that rock side of you with this song.
Well, I have to say I'm a little excited about the tour, and I really, really hope that I can make the date. You're actually coming to where I live in Sudbury, Ontario.
Nice.
The day before my birthday.
Nice. That's awesome.
Yeah. Yep. You're going to be at the Townhouse Tavern, which is a very popular place. Some really impressive names have performed there. And maybe not my favorite venue in Sudbury, but definitely a good vibe when you're in there. So yes, you're there November the 7th, which, as I say, is the day before my birthday. So I definitely have to make it out to that show, just so you guys can do a rock version of singing Happy Birthday to me.
Nice. Okay. Great.
And then we can talk shop about the conflict of the creative versus the business side of the brain and all that stuff. Your tour is a 25-day tour or 25-stop tour. Which begins October the 17th and runs through just before Christmas to December 16th. You actually wrap up in your hometown.
Yeah, that's intentional.
Well, that's the smart way of doing it, yeah. I know a lot of the BC bands will start east and then work their way west and finish at least close to home.
Yeah, it's always like a big blowout. We just do a crazy party in Saskatoon, and we love it. It's always like just all of our friends, and family.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Other than the Saskatoon show, and obviously the Sudbury show now, is there another one you're looking forward to?
Well, you're trying to set me up to get in trouble here, but honestly, it's like, the excitement for this is just, it's like to play all these new songs for people across the country. Like I'm just, these songs, like, to be a musician in 2017 and to sort of get to the level we're at takes a lot of sacrifice and hard work. And, so when you have an album that like you really believe in, it's like you're so excited to share that with all the people across the country that have supported you all these years, So it's like, there's nothing more exciting than getting on stage and playing these songs, because all the sacrifice and hard work, like it all is sort of redeemed when for that hour you're on stage.
Mm-hmm. Great. Nice wording on that. You didn't you didn't show favoritism on any of the spots that you're going to play, so except for the hometown crowd. It's all good. Okay. I hate to say it, but we've really gone over time here, so we'll wrap up. But is there anything you'd like to add before we go?
Just it's always an honor to do these sort of interviews, and this is like the support of people like you over the years is like, it's what sort of has got us to where we are. So I really appreciate it, Linda, and I look forward to seeing you in Sudbury.
I look forward to meeting you and hearing the band. I will bring my earplugs, though. I do like to save my eardrums.
Nice. Okay, great.
We've been speaking with Kurt Dahl from One Bad Son. Please check out their new album being released next Friday, October the 13th, called Made in the Name of Rock and Roll. And I'm Linda Heldman for Canadian Beats.